everybody. Welcome back to episode 109 on this Tuesday night. We have cats in the vicinity, so they might get a little squirrely. So if you hear any racing around, that's them with their evening ritual of chasing each other around.
Yes.
But I did pull up a chair just in case they want to jump up on the table.
We could have created a pathway with boxes from the couch over here so they could just walk right over.
Yeah, they probably will. They don't know what's going on with all the boxes and us being busy in different various places in the house. They're kind of confused as to what's going on.
Oh, there's some sirens. That's good. That's nice.
Kind of sounds like on our block, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It's not our house.
Yeah.
We're not. Oh, my. Oh, maybe they were just going past because there's road construction a block over. So
I'm super nosy, so if we weren't filming right now, I'd be out in the front porch like 2 seconds.
We could bring the iPad out there and film it. There'll be reporters. Any
kind of hint of an... Do you remember over the last summer, there was helicopters, like just a bunch of helicopters sound. It was just loud and everything. Yes. Then there were sirens and everything. We live right by the expressway. So I'm like, I gotta see what's going on. So I walked to the end of the block. I could see traffic stopped. I could see there was an altercation a couple blocks down. I walked all the way to see what the
altercation or accident.
It was an accident.
Yeah.
Not an altercation.
Well, because sometimes you never know.
It
yeah,
could be both.
Yeah. So it could be both.
It has happened on that expressway many times. But yeah, it was an accident, and so I had to walk 2 blocks just to see what was going on. So I'm definitely the nosy person that would be out on the porch just seeing what's going on.
That's okay. It's funny that you're talking about it because I remember when I started running for real. Well, I started in the summer or late spring of 1995, but I kind of got going in 96. And of course I remember that in large part because that was, or not long after Emma was born, but that summer of 1996, the Democratic National Convention was in Chicago. And so for a period of a couple of weeks, even though the convention was only a few days, there were just constant helicopters overhead. And I don't know why I remember that, but that and the fact that it was insanely hot. That was that really, really hot summer. Actually, there were a lot of heat-related fatalities.
Where it was 10 days of over 100 degrees or something like that.
That was the time when I got off the L, and actually we were living near where we are now, and there's a bank with a clock, big clock that also has the temperature on it, and it's at 106. And I thought it was so hot out that the heat had fried the thermometer.
Right.
I was it was not really 106, but it's so hot that the thing isn't working properly now. Nope. It was 106 degrees at 6:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
Because it was when the temperature was first starting to really build up, and it went. I don't think the temperature was consistently over 100 degrees for that stretch.
But the heat index was.
Well, that's true. That's true. And the other thing is that it for several days in a row it didn't go below 90 even overnight. So that was crazy. And that was the summer that I really got into long distance running.
Right. Perfect timing.
Yeah. I think I ran I guess I had run a 10K the year before in the fall of 95. But then I started building up, and we started doing 20K races and stuff like that. So it wasn't, but I didn't know really, I knew it was hot, but I didn't know how difficult it was to run in that heat.
Right. And it's not something that you had trained for in the past and you're oh, I know how to deal with this or whatever.
So I have a complaint. I have a big complaint. In any event, we're getting emails about our house.
Yeah.
But so here's what my complaint is. My complaint is that today I saw that someone, and I won't even mention who the author is or the article title or what it was in, but it was basically complaining about how certain people are obsessed with the pandemic or addicted to all the stuff, living in quarantine and all this stuff. And there was a guy who's a CNN journalist, I won't mention his name, endorsed this idea and said, people haven't changed their behavior, even though the health recommendations have changed over time and all this. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. I assume they're talking about things like, people still wearing masks, like wearing masks outdoors when some of the guidance has changed, or wearing masks and stuff like that even after being vaccinated and all that. And I'm like, why does anyone care that another person, chooses to be a little more cautious than you might be?
Right.
When did that become like an outrageous thing? Like characterizing it as being addicted to whatever, or somehow like that's a sign of being I don't know, mentally unstable because you're cautious.
Like you're weird for doing that, kind of thing.
And you think about like in so many contexts that you can think of, people are really, really cautious, right? Like we're buying a house. What do you do when you buy a house? You have an inspection done, and the inspection, the inspector will go over every little tiny thing in the house, even if it's things that are not, like you're not going to actually bring up and ask the seller to correct or give you a credit for or whatever. Little things that could theoretically be a problem in the future, because that's what a responsible inspector would do. Oh, this outlet isn't grounded. You might want to replace that, or here's an area where maybe the siding should be replaced at some little things that aren't any kind of immediate risk, but you should be aware of them. And if you're going to be a responsible homeowner, that's just being like rational and cautious, right? Or if you think about people who will, like, for example, shred financial documents before they throw them out, like bank statements or credit card statements or whatever, shred it before. A lot of people do that. Is that crazy? Because the actual likelihood that someone's going to find your credit card and commit the risk is low, but the consequences are bad. So you're cautious, right? People get their oil changed every 3 months, even though it may or may not be necessary. They rotate their tires. They check the tire pressure before they go on a line. People do cautious things all the time, and like virtually.
And nobody calls them out on that.
Right, it's not considered to be like crazy behavior that we're gonna drive 150 miles, so I want to make sure that the tire pressure is right on my car, or I want to get the oil changed before I go on this long trip. It's all kinds of things like that. Changing your passwords on your computer. Think about. We have this weird thing in our country, I think, where we don't really kind of know what to do with situations where there's a risk out there, but the risk may be small. The actual chance that a bad thing will happen may be small, but the consequences of that bad thing could be huge, right? We don't really know how to deal with that. I mean, I think about this all the time because, as a lawyer, you deal with exactly those situations. I was a lawyer I'm still a lawyer, but I was a lawyer in practice for 29 years. I was a litigator, so I handled lawsuits for 29 years. And let me tell you, people are not always as cautious as they should be.
Yeah.
The problem we have in our country is not necessarily that people are too cautious. They're not necessarily cautious enough in a lot of circumstances. And I had to deal with the fallout of people not being careful often enough that it's just plain bizarre to me that we criticize people for, maybe being a little more careful than they need to be. And it's not because you really necessarily think, oh, I'm going to get COVID if I don't wear a mask, or I got to stay 8 feet away from that person, or I'm going to get... It's not really that. It's that if you're not 100% sure what the risk is, and there might kind of sort of be some risk, it's not that crazy to take some precaution.
Yeah.
Because if you got sick, it could be bad. We know people, I'll just throw this out there because it's true. We know two young people who got fully vaccinated, have been vaccinated for a while, got COVID because their babysitter, the woman who watched their daughter, had it. And I don't know the exact sequence of events, but so this young couple got COVID. Now, here's the thing. Because they were vaccinated, very mild case, they're going to be just fine, right?
Yeah, not a long hauler.
But what does that mean? It means even if you're vaccinated, there is not just the risk you could theoretically get it, but you could pass it on to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all people are doing. They're just saying, hey, you know what? I'm just going to take a little extra caution. Why is that considered to be so crazy?
I know.
It's like we're living in bizarro world, because if you act cautiously in any other part of your life, with your car, with your finances, with your home, with any other aspect
with your
of your
children,
with your children, with any other aspect of your health.
Mm-hmm.
People go to the dentist 2 times a year. Do you really think you need to go to the dentist I know dentists will swear that you need to go 2 times a year. But I mean, people, people go to the doctor every year. Do you honestly believe that when you go to the doctor, your doctor's going to say, wow, it's a good thing you came in because you have this life-threatening illness and we caught it just in the nick of time? Obviously, that could happen.
Right.
And that is why you go to the doctor, because that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid the possibility that you might miss something. But you're not actually thinking when you're sitting in the waiting room, oh my God, he's going to tell me I've got cancer today.
Right.
Right? But you still go because you're a grown-up. That's all. So I'm sorry for the rant. But
that's okay. But I think in that case of saying, like, when are people going to get over this or kind of thing, I think it is people who just wish it could just be all end today. We all do.
No, absolutely. I totally empathize with that. Totally.
But it doesn't mean that you should not be felt bad of, because you're going to still continue to wear a mask or whatever, even after you're vaccinated, or may choose to work from home and not go into the office as much, kind of thing. So
well, and and that's the thing, is what are these things? What are people doing that other people seem to find to be so troubling? They're basically wearing masks and kind of staying away from other people. Why is that such a big deal?
Yeah.
Like, why is I guess we're not used to it, because in other countries, people wear masks during flu season all the time just to cut down on the transmission of garden variety flu.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should do that. I'm not saying you or anybody else should do anything. Do whatever the hell you want, But it's just weird to me that to see this article framing it as some kind of like crazy obsession.
Yeah, that's very bizarre.
I don't get it. And I'm sure, once we are fully vaccinated, I'll probably still be pretty cautious, but I'll also feel a lot more comfortable, and I'll probably be a little less paranoid. So that's great. I'm looking forward to that. But what a made up controversy. You're upset that someone else is wearing a mask, or that someone else decides not to go to a restaurant when you want to go to. Who cares?
Right.
Mind your business.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah. Sorry. I just saw that today. I was in the middle of work. I had like 18 million things happening, and I saw this headline, and I'm like, what?
And after our cable experience yesterday, we had no internet for 5 hours yesterday, or TV. There was a power, like some cable or something that was severed by a construction crew, knocked out internet for the carrier that we have. For many of the Chicagoland area. So that was kind of crazy, because we were both working. I was upstairs, David was down here, and I thought it was my computer, and then I was just kind of like, kind of thing. So I always do the first thing I do, restart my computer. Yeah. And then that didn't do anything, and then we have the app, you can troubleshoot the modem. It said we'll send a signal to the modem. I literally had my phone in front of the modem.
We unplugged the modem, plugged it back in.
Waited 15 seconds, plugged it back in.
Oh, that's really a router, I guess. I used to think of a modem as the old-timey thing.
That's true. And then I said, do you want us to send a signal to it? And I was like, yeah. And so I was like, had my phone right in front of that thing, and it said they couldn't find it. And I was like, are you kidding me? But then on further review, it wasn't just us. It was many people. What is the name of that website that you always go to check? Oh,
it's called Down Detector.
Yeah, downdetector.com. So you could put anytime, it could be Twitter, it could be Facebook, Instagram, anything. If you see, we put Comcast in, and it was like, read up the thing that
there's like
so
a
many
little
people
graph.
are having problems and issues. But then it's also funny because you can see people's comments. And some kids were like, I'm trying to do homework,
or
kind of thing.
Or in the middle of final exams or something like that. Yeah, that would have stressed me out.
Yeah. So it wasn't until probably eight
No,
or
I
9
think it
o'clock
was
last
right.
night.
It was
Because
a
then I
good
was
6
thinking
hours.
that I could use the hotspot on my cell phone to use our iPad to watch Discovery Plus. Yeah, it was like this whole scenario I had in my head.
Well, and we could talk, our cell service worked fine. So we tried to talk to, we tried to do exactly that, use the hotspot with the iPad to talk to our daughter down, to FaceTime with her, so it have a little bit larger screen. And it worked, but the video kept going out.
Poor connection, and it just like.
So we ended up just calling her on the phone.
Yeah.
Then the crazy thing is, okay, so I'm gonna I have more to rant about. So the crazy thing is, when all this happened yesterday afternoon, I'm on my work computer, and I was there's a product called Westlaw, which is one of the things that my company puts out there, but I use it. It's for legal research, and I use it in my job. So I'm downloading things off of Westlaw, like cases in PDF format, and so as far as I know, I'm still connected to the internet. But on Teams, I had the little like the yield sign with the exclamation point, and on Outlook, I had a notice that I was offline. But I'm like, I'm still working, so I don't get it. So anyway, so then of course, same thing. I'm like, well, I'm going to restart my computer because that solves all the problems in the world. But then, of course, when I did that, I had nothing. I had no internet signal, whatever. So I have my cell phone. I have used it as a hotspot many times with my work PC, like if we're traveling with my work laptop or whatever. But it wouldn't detect it couldn't pick up the hotspot. It could pick up yours. Jennifer's upstairs. So in the column on the right hand side where you see your wireless options, it picked up yours. It picked up Emma's because Emma was at home cleaning out her room, but not my phone. And I didn't want to. First of all, I didn't have the password for your guys' phones, but also I didn't. If you have multiple,
I could have shared my hotspot.
Yeah, but if you have multiple devices attached to the same hotspot and you're both using a lot of internet, it just slows down. So I wanted to use. It made more sense. Wouldn't work. Wouldn't connect to my phone. I'm sitting right next to there with. So I that was frustrating. So basically, I had my work computer where I couldn't have internet. I had my MacBook where I was trying, and then I had to try to remember passwords because I didn't have my Westlaw password.
And what browser should I be on this one?
Right, exactly. So that was a whole level of frustration.
I do think for like.
But wait! I got more to complain about. So then today, so that gets all sorted out, right? So we got our internet is back. This morning is fine, but I had a meeting at 7:30 in the morning. Love a 7:30 a.m. meeting.
Crack of dawn.
So, but I was up. It was fine, and but so I like to use the AirPods, especially because this is a meeting where I was just listening in. I didn't have to say anything.
Didn't have to be on camera.
So I want to be able to get up and get a cup of coffee, move around, whatever, while I'm listening in on the meeting. So I couldn't. It told me my AirPods were connected, but they weren't because the sound was coming out of the speaker of the computer. So I kept going back and trying to connect them. I would disconnect and then try to. They're paired. They're paired with the computer, but the connection wouldn't hold for some reason. So then I have the brilliant idea of, I couldn't shut down my computer and restart because I was in this meeting. So instead I'm like, okay, well I'll unpair the AirPods and then I'll pair them again. Then my work PC could not ever recognize. They just couldn't find. And there's a trick with the AirPods. You open up the case, and you hold the little button down, and the light that's either green or orange to tell you whether or not they're charged. It turns white and it flashes, and that's how you pair it with the device.
Did I know that?
I don't know.
I don't think I did.
But anyway, so I'm doing that, and the little light is flashing, and it will not recognize it. So I had to sit through the whole meeting with my old earphones attached to the computer, so I couldn't get them to look around. And then later, after that meeting was over, I tried it again and again and again. It still wouldn't recognize the AirPods. Finally, you know what I had to do? I had to
restart the computer.
No, I did. I tried it and it didn't work. I had to shut down my MacBook, which was on the desk next to me. I had to turn off my iPhone. And then with those devices turned off, I was able to pair.
So it's almost like
the
it was getting
AirPods,
confused
yeah.
because there's too many different options for you to
But
pair.
you know,
But that seems weird.
I know everybody hates a Mac user, but I'm going to tell you, with 2 days, I was ready to throw that PC out the window. And I've used PCs for a long time, and I don't care. I have never. I complain about my Mac all the time, but I've never had the kind of problems with a Mac that I've had with my work computer. I do not understand how there's so much lost productivity.
So much lost
with PCs, and yet we're all stuck with them.
Yeah, and
so that's 2 major complaints in one episode.
Do I have anything to complain about? Just chime on in.
Yeah, me. Especially after all that nonsense.
It is frustrating though, and for the longest time when I was home, I'd worked from home before certain days, before the pandemic, but before I would log in a certain way to like connect to work and everything. Literally was home for 6 months before I had like another IT issue, and then the person asked me if I was logged on to our network, and I was like, yeah. And he's like, no, you're not. You're logged in like a different way. Like you can connect to the VPN. And I was like, wait, what? So I was like, once I did it, I was like, this is so much easier because I had like so many workarounds, and I just figured that's how it was because we were at home. But
right.
Since I have always worked in the office and I'm generally near the IT, I could just walk over to somebody and be like, could you come over to my computer?
Well, the joys of working remotely.
Yeah.
I was on the phone one time with an IT person in New York, and at our Times Square office, and we were talking about some problem I was having, and he's like, well, I'll just swing by and we'll take a look. I'm like, well, that's a problem because it's like...
Do you want me to check flights for you?
Yeah, I'm 2 hours away, plus 2 hours plus by plane. So yeah. So those are my complaints for now.
Yeah, and we are still working on final details of the house. We're getting emails and such, so we'll update you
I got
on
distracted
that.
for a moment because another one came in.
It's all going to work out fine, but it's just little tiny things that come up that you think, oh, everything's smooth sailing, there's no problems. There probably isn't a problem, but it's just kind of like the closing date is in question. So,
well, yes and no.
Yes,
I mean, there's going to be a closing date.
Yes.
It's just there's some
a little bit
confusion
later than we
about
wanted.
Yeah.
But it's all gonna work out. It's fine. Knock on wood. So yeah, that's what we're up to, and still packing and cleaning and all that stuff. So it's just busy time
Yes,
in
it
our
is.
lives. But I hope you have a good rest of the evening, and we will catch up with you next time. So have a great night. Bye.
Bye.